Hello there, I'm Galahound19, and this is Spidy's Bizarre Adventure!
Perfection. That was all Donald Osborn ever thought of, and that thought drove him to amassing a multi-million-dollar industry at a young age. A momentous accomplishment for anyone, but not for Donald. He wanted more power, higher status, greater respect. The man often conflates respect with fear. Away from prying eyes, his perfectionism also led him down to blackmail, espionage, and even forming ties with the pillars of crime, such as Kaz Kingpin. And that's not even the worst of it. That's not even where the story begins. It begins with a break-in at Osborn Manor. The assailant bared no weapon, but when the manor guards surrounded him, Donald could only watch in shock and in awe. Some invisible force was emanating from this assailant, and it was tearing through his guards, both figuratively and literally. It all ended with the last guard being thrown across the room, and as his body hit the wall, his gun went off accidentally. The bullet ricocheted and hit the ceiling fan. As if by fate or karma or whatever, the ceiling fan fell on the assailant's head, knocking him unconscious. And that was how Donald Osborn discovered the existence of stands. Supernatural entities given physical forms by their wielders' given life force, with each one inheriting an uncanny ability. And upon his discovery, Donald was drawn in like a moth to flame. For the past 6 months, Donald Osborn was so driven to utilizing this newly found power, to say he had gone mad would be putting it politely. He subjected his captured stand user to a myriad of experiments until that person was reduced to mush. The mad millionaire then turned to other experiments, taking animal test subjects, working day and night to try find some way of acquiring a stand of his own. He was so infatuated that he was distracted from his other duties. In fact, he was distracted from a particular deal he made with a particular Kaz Kingpin. Months prior, they devised an off-the-books plan with potential billions in mind. But when the time came, our distracted businessman failed his end of the deal. And you can imagine the crime lord's frustration. So him and his gang set fire to the Osborn Genetics Lab with Donald Osborn locked inside. The animal experimentees were set loose as his work went ablaze. Donald watched as the vials of chemicals for his stand research caught alight and exploded. He woke up the next day suspecting to find himself in a hospital bed. But surprising enough, he found himself in the Kingpin's office, and in his arms, he found he was cradling the Kingpin's severed head.
Hey, quick interruption here. For any artists looking to improve their skills, let me recommend The Monster Book of Manga by Estido Joso. I hope I'm pronouncing that name correctly. Anyway, it's this really big art book with basic tips and clear instructions on how to draw like characters or monsters or robots, whether it's hand-drawn or digital. Yeah, this is one of the few art books I work with. But enough about that. Let's get back to the adventure, shall we?
And outside the office, he found a trail of fresh blood. That's when he realized he did it. Donald had acquired a stand of his own, but had lost everything else. The Kingpin, before his brutal death, had anonymously leaked information to the media, exposing Donald Osborn of his illegal exploits. And so his company was shut down, his accounts were frozen, and he had lost everything, including his mind. Donald was determined to take it all back by whatever means. So with his new stand by his side, he went on a full crime spree. But fate had other plans in store for him. Acquiring a stand the way he did was a 1 in a million chances, but he wasn't the only one. Young Peter Parstar, a high school student who was near impossible to read. Now he wasn't perfect, but he was alright with that. Until everything changed for him when he got the news that his uncle was sadly gone. Uncle Benjamin worked as an assistant at the Osborne Genetics Lab, and he was taken by the flames. Peter was heartbroken, and he was enraged when he heard of the corporate crimes committed by Osborne. So, a few days later, Peter snuck into the charred remains of the laboratory to try and find some answers. But instead he found a golden-colored spider. The strange arachnid bit Peter's hand, but the pain of it ran through his entire body, as if he was skewered by a knife set. That spider was affected by the same blast that gave Donald his own stand, and now, for whatever reason, it had just granted Peter a stand of his own. Donald, upon realizing, was adamant about being the only one in the city with such power. Yeah, long details aside, Donald cornered and challenged Peter. The young man knew Donald would try to kill him regardless of his answer, so Peter struck first. But with no avail. It was a long, brutal battle, with Donald having more experience, and yet Peter having a natural talent. Their powerful stands exchanged blows after blows until Peter got the upper hand. He had the chance to kill him, but gave Donald the choice to surrender. But Donald wouldn't accept anything other than perfection. He threw dirt in Peter's eyes and commanded his stand to kill him, but stopped in his tracks. That was when he realized his opponent had another ability. Donald and his stand were both tangled in an unbreakable bind of string. Peter then gave his command, and with a sharp pull, Donald and his stand were both ripped to pieces. The battle was over. The man's desire for perfection was his undoing.
Okay, I did this story a little differently by going from the villain's perspective, while also giving out some drawing tips. Now I'm kinda happy with how this came out. And if you feel the same way, then why not like, comment, and subscribe? And how about checking out my Soft Drinks as Superheroes episode? Or my My Hero Academia DeviantArt episode? Or whatever you choose to do. I will catch you next time.